Welcome to Easy Peasy Books, From Author to Authority, the lively and engaging podcast for business professionals who've always believed they have a book in them. I'm your host, Jillian Whitney. Join me as I chat with authors and industry experts from all around the world to explore simple strategies to write, publish, and leverage your business book. Whether you're an entrepreneur, executive, or an employee, this podcast is for you. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Easy Peasy Books podcast. And today I have a returning guest, and Tom Whalen is here with me today. And Tom is a returning guest, but not on this podcast. Tom has been on my previous podcast, which was LinkedIn Easy Peasy. And he came and talked about sales, and I actually looked it up. It was a year ago, so it was just before I started this podcast. And we talked about maximizing LinkedIn's potential within a big company. And so I'll put that in the show notes because that was a great episode. And I would direct people to go back and listen to that because basically the topic of sales is something that's ongoing. And we're actually going to talk about that as a book today too. So that's kind of fun. So before we get stuck in, I want to actually just go ahead and read Tom's bio for everybody, and that will help us stay on track. So Tom Whalen is a seasonal sales leader who has been developing high-performance teams for more than 2 decades at companies like Hewlett-Packard, American Express, and McKesson. A 6-time President's Club winner, Tom has led his current team to exceed their business plan for an incredible 15 years straight. Passionate about mentoring and developing talent, Tom turned his expertise into a unique children's style book for early career professionals called The ABC Book of Professional Selling, which he self-published in 2023. He now is teaching The Art of Persuasion at Virginia Commonwealth University. Woo, congrats on that. And Tom is now living in Central Virginia with his family. And while he's not working, he enjoys movies and cheering his favorite wrestling stars. So I love that. That's a great bio. So thank you for sharing.
It's you, but somebody else read it.
It's always fun. It's always fun. And, then you don't have to stumble around. Let me do the work for you. Put the podcast host to work. So I want to talk about your author's journey. And I know that you mentioned you had a book when I first talked with you, but at that point I was kind of all, talking about LinkedIn. And now I've switched focus with this podcast. And so essentially the goal of the podcast is to inspire other authors to either write, market, or publish their book, because there's a lot to getting your book out there. And we are both huge fans of LinkedIn. You were a LinkedIn top voice. And so we know LinkedIn is a fabulous place, but is it a fabulous place for children's books? So that's just a fun thing that here we have, a top voice on LinkedIn doing a children's book, but you actually broke the rules. I tell people usually write for one audience, but you wrote for 2 because your book is for basically kids, but also the parents, and you're using it with adults. And so, it can appeal to both audiences. I checked it out. It even rhymes. It's literally an ABC. It rhymes. It reminded me like of a Dr. Seuss of selling. So it's just fabulous. So Tom, let's go back in the time machine and tell us, well, first of all, before we even go back in the time machine, let's stay in the present. Tell people about your book. What is your book? And let's start with that.
Yeah, it's the ABCs of professional selling. There it is. So it's what's funny about it is I wanted to. So I do again, as I mentioned, teaching at BCU now, but for I don't know, 22 years before that, I've been teaching my sales team, and a lot of the key points that I teach my reps, I wanted to document and give them something to kind of when we finish the class, because the course goes on for it's about 3 months. It's like a regular course. That's why I do it at the school now, because it's that long. It's about 45 minutes a day, and we do it for just about 3 months. So, the one I do with my company. And so I wanted something to like, what are the key factors of sales, and I wanted to put that into a book. But then I said, you know what? I showed it to one of my managers, and she was like, you know what? It's funny. She's like, I just got a finance book for one of her daughters, who's again, I guess like 7 or 8. I was like, you know what? I wonder if I can make this like so folks could use it for their, their kids to have fun with it, and then also for some of the students that I teach, and then maybe the sales professionals, they're running around and the kids go, Dad, what do you do? I'm like, well, let me show you, and they can kind of do that. So it was a bunch of different ways to go through it. And I've always liked poetry and things. So I said, yeah, you can rhyme it a little bit and, make it kind of fun. So that was sort of what the book's about, and then kind of what it does and that sort of thing.
I love that. I love that. And I'm going to go ahead for anybody who's watched. I've got a copy here. So for anybody, I got it on my iPad. So it's available at Amazon on paperback and also on Kindle. So that's good to know. And so I just want to read. So it starts off, there's a picture. There's a cute little picture of a little fella here. Is this you, Tom, or is it your kids?
No, that's me. That's me.
You. I love it. I love it. So I love that because you got the telephone, and it's like the old style telephones. It's just like, oh my gosh. Nowadays you'd get somebody who's like a millennial. It's like, what is that thing with a cord? Yeah, that was how we actually, we had telephones and we could hang up the phone, and it was like much better than just clicking a button. But anyways, I love this, that you start off the book by saying ABC. 3 letters every preschooler and salesperson discovers on their very first day. So I'm just going to read the first one. So the first one, there's this picture of a battery, and it's got the little positive sign facing out, and it says, A is for attitude, and a good one you'll need, with an ardent desire to help others succeed. And I love that. And so literally, does the book then go through the entire alphabet, Tom?
It does. It goes through the alphabet, and then it kind of ends a little bit of about what you have to do once you become a salesperson. Being kind of having the gumption to kind of and resiliency to kind of do the job. And so yeah, that's really what it does. And what I wanted to do is that my thinking was, and why I give it to, students and things, is that all the basics are in there. And then if they're like, you know what, I want to talk about, I have in here something about, prospecting or qualifying or something, hopefully it's enough. It's short enough that folks that will read it, that, have a short attention span, because salespeople, I mean, that's as a lifetime salesperson, I definitely, myself has a short attention span, as well as many of the reps I've worked with and trained, met, that kind of stuff. So they can stay focused on it. And they say, hey, you know what, I want to do more research. They can go online and do some of that research and find.
I love that.
And it helps them, because what I always tell my team is that I don't, the class that I'm teaching, I love doing it. I've been doing it for a long time. But your sales education shouldn't end with, this class that I teach. It should go on forever, as long as you continue to do it. And so part of it is trying to get folks to continue that sales education, which is, why I made it kind of light blue, because I figured it was like, I don't know if you remember in school, like those the books that you'd have to write in, like for your answers to exams and things. Mm-hmm. I tried to make it that color to make it kind of get that sort of feeling. Although I don't know if anybody uses those little theme books anymore when they take exams in school, but
who knows? And I think that's the fun thing about, like, you do a book like this. It's creative. It's fun. You took inspiration from other children's books. Obviously you probably grew up in the Dr. Seuss era. So it's like, how, if we hear things, when we hear things that rhyme, first of all, it excites our brain. It makes us smile. It makes us laugh, but it's also memorable. Sure. And I could see that every one of these letters is a talking point and a conversation starter, so that if you actually had a big team that you were using this book to go, number one, they're going to remember, and it's like, there would be not, if you have somebody, you call somebody in and it's just like, okay, their problems with attitude. It's like, okay, we have to go back to the battery, and it's like, are you being positive or negative? Like, there's a lot of stuff going on with just the text and the images. And like you said, we have short attention spans, so you need to drive your point home. So if you showed up at a sales team meeting with a honking manual that was like pages and pages of theory that they have to go through, you're not going to get those. Now, from a sales perspective, tell me, ABC usually refers to something specific in sales, right?
Yeah, no, it does. It's always be closing. So, if you've watched Glengarry Glen Ross, it's Alec Baldwin, probably his most famous scene, at least for many sales professionals, you ask them. And so it just kind of, I was thinking about it. And what's funny is when I got the idea to start doing it, I knew I wanted to write a book, and I have several that I've kind of half started and maybe, 25% started. And I know I have all these ideas, and it kind of, I was driving home. So I live in Virginia, but I'm from New Jersey. And so I was coming back from Easter. My daughter was driving the car, and so she pops in her iPad or like earbuds. It's like, okay, cool, and it's on driving. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do here? And so I started thinking about this, and so I opened my phone up and I just started typing out, well, A could be for this, and I started thinking about it because it was like, I was teaching the sales class that I teach, and I was thinking about, like, how could I take something that, ABC and, always closing and all that good stuff, and make it like, because kids learn that in school, and the first day they're learning, their alphabet and that. And when a lot of the reps that I do teach, I have a gambit of folks that have been, some have been in sales longer than me, but many are also, this is their first job, first career. So I have a big wide span, but I train everybody. And so I was sort of thinking, like, how could I take somebody who's brand new, first job out of school, early talent, first sales job, maybe they sold something else and then came over to do what the medical supplies that we do, and how can I kind of teach them, and that was sort of so maybe I can put those big two things together, and that's how it kind of came about, and then what I wanted to do, really ideally, but again, you talk about sort of the journey with Amazon. Originally, what I really wanted to do was make a big, like, similar, easy to read and lots of pictures, but I want to make it big and thick and heavy so that someone could, like, put it like on their table and they could just look at the pictures and fold it. But I mean, I learned a lot about self-publishing. My gosh, it's tough. I don't know why I did this initially. I did it initially because I wanted the picture, because if you can see that it's, there's a lot of pictures in it, and it's 2 pages. So it's a lot of like that. I like the pictures, and I figured folks would like reading them and that kind of thing. So I figured it'd be a good book to open up and have big pictures. But so I did it. I originally wrote it in PowerPoint to make it so bad, which was not a great idea because that format is not supported in the Amazon publishing system. So then I had to redo it all, and that was in itself interesting. But it was good because I had a chance to maybe change a couple things. I think make it better, edit it, and then I said, okay, well, I wanted to get really cool pictures, and so I started going to different sites and finding great pictures. And then again, I learned a lot. This is my first time. I've never done this before, so I started doing it, and then I'm like, wait a minute, am I like violating copyright law is a thing? And so then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I think I am. So now I got to go back through and oh, I can't use this picture. So I had to redo a lot of that. And then I used a lot of free sites and then pictures that I actually had myself. But then also, I make sure to cite even the free ones. You have to give you have to cite the sources. So I had to do all of that, and it was definitely a journey. And then making sure that it's formatted properly for the because again the pictures, I wanted the pictures to go all the way to the edge of just silly little things you don't think of. I want to go all the way to the end of the page. Well, you have to make sure they line up, and then some pictures they'll take, some they won't. Some backgrounds, won't be acceptable. So it's a process. It's a process.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
I love doing it, but it was a lot. It was a lot. But I'm very pleased with it, and now it's been a couple of years, and so I still go through, once UNC with the first year with the college course, and then with my job, teaching once a year. I'm like, I still do it. How do I like it? Do I want to change it? But I still like it. I don't want to change anything. I really just enjoy it.
I love that. I love that. Have you ever thought about adding on the format of an audiobook? Has that ever crossed your head?
You know what? That's a great idea. I I haven't given much thought of it, and to be honest, I'm not sure how to do it. So I'm thinking about a bunch of one of your shows to do how to do it. I'd love to do something like that. That sounds kind of cool.
Yeah, well, I'll have to write an article about it and then I'll educate everybody. So I haven't done it myself, but it's one of those things. And I know now that we have so many AI things out there, that's even a possibility of if you don't want to do it in your voice, although I would always recommend keep your brand and do it in your own voice. But a lot of people are now actually going towards getting like a clone of their own voice, or they just go, well, I would like it to be with the British voice or, something totally like if you're going to do it, make it totally different, like a woman who's from Britain and, whatever. And, I don't know, it's the spoon talking to the dish type of thing. So, that kind of thing. But I commend you because, thinking back to like when you were talking about driving home and you're in the car and you got this idea for a book and you're just like, okay, I'm sure you were just like, okay, can I do the whole alphabet? Like, what am I going to do when I get to X? It's just like, there's all these challenges. They're going to make people buy the book so they can learn what you did with X. But, you think about it, how many people say, oh, I got this great idea and they get really excited and then it dies on the vine.
Yeah.
So how did you go from you're in the car, you're excited, and then you came home. I'm sure you probably shared it with your family. Hopefully they all were like, yay, or else they were like, it's like you never know how families are going to respond. But how did you say, no, I'm really doing this? This is not just going to be like, oh, I have a great idea for a book and then I go and park it on the shelf and it never sees the light of day.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. So, it took me, and again, you can see that it's not that there's, they're big words and pictures mostly. So it's not like I'm writing William Shakespeare here. It took 2 years to do it. So, which is crazy because, I put it together and then it sat for a while. And actually I didn't get all the way even through the alphabet. I got, a couple letters here, a couple there. And, and for some I had like 4 or 5 different words I could use. And then I had a bunch of different, rhymes and things. And then I was like, I could change this and mess with that. And then it sat for a while. And then I was like, man, this is kind of crazy. And so what I had some knee surgery done. So I was kind of laid up a little bit. I said, let me start messing with this a little bit because why not? And so, again, I started messing with it. And then it became like something that, and I just sort of did when I was sitting on the couch and not had anything else to do. So my knee healed and all that. So, what? On a Saturday afternoon, but let me mess with it for an hour or two. And so I would just mess them while the TV was on or whatever. And then I'd come back and do a little more. And I did a little bit over a lot of time. And then when I got it somewhere where I kind of liked it, that was the point where it was all in PowerPoint. I'm like, all right, let's see if we can load this thing. And I was like, and I can mess with it. And I was like, oh my God, no, I can't. I have to do it. So then I had to do it. I had to take everything and then I put it into Canva. And I was like, okay, you get a Canva license and all that and figure that out. And then I changed some pictures, which again, while it was a long, arduous process doing all that, it made me do a better job because I kind of some of the stuff I had. Oh, and then Canva, such great. I mean, such great tool. So and fonts and all that stuff, and so because I wanted all the fonts to be different and that sort of thing. So I wanted to put and even the pictures that I like, some of them I used, I kind of layered over other pictures together because I wanted it to be kind of like visually appealing. That was like one of my things. I figured if somebody's sharing it with their child, it could be, they want to see like big pictures and some of that. And so that was the big piece of it. And it took a while. So what kind of kept me going was I said, I've spent so much time at this point, I got to see it through. And I like the fact that at the end, when I do my class at the end, I like having, giving them something. Okay, here, all the stuff pretty much that we covered and that we've addressed it. And it's every I think it hits all the points of a B2B sale. And it's funny as I have one of my reps that worked with me now for, gosh, I don't know, not quite 10 years, but darn close. He has a son that he reads the book to all the time, and I forgot which word it is now that I think about it, but we had a little Halloween thing at work, and he introduced me. He's like, "Oh, this is Tom Will. It's Tom Will." And he was the kid was kind of excited about it because he reads the book. It's their bedtime storybook. So it's kind of funny, that his son he reads the book too. So it's very cool. It's really cool.
I love that. I love that. And, that's the thing. It's like, it's a tangible product at the end. Like when you can actually physically, this is my book, and you can give it away. You can sell it to people. They can buy it on Amazon. The day somebody actually comes up to you and says, "Would you sign my book?" You're just like, "What?" Like you just feel like, I can't believe somebody's asked me to sign a book. I don't even know what to write. Like you just kind of, it's a crazy feeling, but it's a thing that it's like, this is a legacy. Like this will, who knows where this is going to go on out into the universe and touch people. And I celebrate you, Tom, because I think this is a fabulous, fabulous accomplishment. So I have to ask you, so you're this like sales guy, like super sales, like let's put a big S on your chest, like super bad, right? Because you're super sales. So that is the thing that many, many authors struggle with. It's like, okay, fine. They work really hard. They get the book done. They actually, take the thoughts out of their head. They get the book out there. It's up on Amazon. And then it's just like, oh, do I have to tell people about it now? That's the hard part, because it's like we have this horrible voice in our head that's like, people are going to judge me and they're not going to like it and yada, yada, yada. So you're a salesperson. Tell us, was that hard to do okay, I've written a book, or how did you cope with all that?
So and that stuff again, because selling, because I believe I've sold medical supplies, I've sold financing, I've sold a whole bunch of everything. Wire for a while. It's but that's somebody else's stuff. Selling your own thing, yeah, I think that still applies, because like it's a bit of you, right? And so the only real test groups, and since I self-published and I didn't have some big publisher kind of running tests or that's polls or whatever, and pilots. I liked it. I showed it to my my wife, but she liked it. I got to show it to one of my managers who works with me, and she kind of liked it. I'm like, okay, well, I'll give it a shot. But yes, definitely there's that feeling of, is everyone going to hate this thing? Is there going to be people going to call me stupid because I'm doing this? And then I was like, you know what? It's like any other sales, thing. When you do a cold call and someone hangs up on you, or depending, some people could be a little more rude. That doesn't necessarily bother me. So the sense of, man, is this thing going to be my little idiot? Didn't stay very long, thankfully. It was good, and I could tell you a lot of folks supported me, which was nice. I did put it on LinkedIn, but I try, and I still do. I think I put a post. I don't look on LinkedIn. I did for Black Friday. I put it on for on Instagram, and so right now I'm still using the Black Friday pricing until the end of the year, and so and people buy it. Is it a New York Times bestseller? Of course it isn't. But I use it as a book in my class at BCU. It was in their bookstore for it's in their bookstore, and at the end of my class, so what reps you should pick up a copy, and so it's not okay, I think, for what it is. I mean, again, it is, I do a full-time job and that kind of thing, but it's neither pitching it every day. So I appreciate opportunities like this, and I do get to talk about it because besides some sales podcasts that I've done. This is the first time I talked solely about the book, so that's kind of cool. And
love it. I think it's brilliant. And you know what? I don't think we have to worry about our books being, that New York Times bestseller. We don't have the machine behind us. Right. That is the thing about being an independent publisher. We get to call the shots. And at the end of the day, it's like, it's your cover because you chose it. It's your pictures, your words. You own that intellectual property. That's yours. And I think that, like, even if one person out there gets your book and says, holy cow, this is great. This is exactly what I needed. I was struggling with sales, or maybe they like their kid had like, bring your parent to work day. And they're like, what's a salesperson? And it's like the dad or the mom could show up and read the book. Like, you just think of so many different things. And I think that it's like, it's not about the money we make. If you're going to write a book because you think you're going to make money, we're going to just tell you right now, go do something else, because you're just not going to make money. But the thing is that it leads to, it enhances your credibility, your visibility, and you make a difference out there. And if you're a person who grew up loving books and, you still love books, you're contributing back to something that had an impact on you. So, I totally applaud you, and I love it. I think your book is very stimulating looking. It's visual. It's great. It's going to appeal to, we're in a society now where, like I said, shiny objects, we can, everybody's got ADD and ADHD and stuff like that. So a book like this is fabulous because it can make a serious point in a very lighthearted way. So I think it's brilliant. So I have to ask you too.
Yeah.
So as you're like sort of moving on, so you got your book done. So now I've you're going to go home and, you're going to go and talk to your family about this and say, Jillian's talking to me about making it an audio book, so it's just like, oh my gosh. But just like, you just kind of think of like, oh my gosh, you could turn this into a computer game. Like
Sure, you're right.
there's so many cool things that we can do. And, and it's like nowadays too, there's merchandising. So it's just like, I know somebody who did a book and then they took one of the sort of things, the mascot of the book, and then they turned it into like a complimentary character. There's just so many cool things. And as much as you kind of laugh at it, adults like stuff, it's like you go to a sales conference and you start, if you had like a little dog or something, or a little A or B or C, and you had those as gifts, people would be like, I want one on my desk.
No, you're right. No, you're 100% right. And that was the first thing. I don't know if it's happens, because I know you have a few books out there too, but as soon as you get the first one out there, everyone's always asking, like, so when's the next one coming? Like, that happens all the time. And, ABC being, what it is. I mean, so I don't know. I was like, well, we'll do 1, 2, 3. What about that? So I'm like, yeah, I'd like to. So we'll see what that kind of thing. But yeah, but you bring up a good point with doing the merch. And I've seen some folks that have put the merch out there, and that's what I say to my daughter, because she'd help me with, when I was, again, with a lot of the, as I was working with this Amazon stuff, I was like, am I doing this right? I would show her, well, you need this Excel, something like that. I think I figured out. So because I got asked her so much, I said, you know what? and she got tired of me asking her. I'm like, I'm going to get good at it. So I think I'm pretty good at it now, but, I always keep saying to her, I got to get merch. We need merch. And she's just like, you stop with the merch. But it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. It's not a big kind to keep merch, but I think I need it.
I love that. And, you're correct that Amazon is a journey in itself, because when you go to self-publish your book, you think, okay, all I have to do is upload my book and then I'm good to go. And then you're just like, oh, it's rejecting the cover, like it's rejecting, and then, we haven't even talked about, okay, you had your paperback, but then you have to go do the Kindle. And it's like a Kindle, when you have illustrations, well, that's now a challenge, because your layout is, and a lot of people don't know this, Tom, that when you're trying to put your book out on Kindle, your book is now responsive, which means that it's responsive to the device that you're reading it. Now, there's other ways you can do Kindle, but that's typically how most people do it. And so if I put it on large type, the illustrations might not be there. So it's a challenge. And, especially if you have pictures, if you have graphics, you really have to think it through. And then, of course, there's like barcodes and ISBN numbers. And then there's like, okay, now you got to write your sales page, and now you got to pick your categories. There's a lot. So, it's, I give you credence for, going through it. So I just want to ask you, as we kind of getting to the end of our time together. So I'm not going to just say, what's your next book, but, like, has this actually encouraged you to say, you know what, I do have those other manuscripts sitting around. I now see that I would like to do something with that. Or are you just like, no, no, this was enough and I'm happy and I'm moving on to other, I'm going to learn to paint now.
Wow. No, you know what? I do want to, I enjoy writing. And I have so many sales stories that I want to tell, that I've learned over my, career. And I wrote a lot of those down. And I would like to do that. I'd like to do it like a sales story. I like the pictures. I figure people, I like pictures. Other people like pictures, but I want to do like kind of a storybook. And just telling some of the sales stories that I've had over the years, that happen to be, or, others that I've heard or seen a bit of part. So I'd love to do that. I would love to do an ABC book of professional sales leadership. I would like to do one of those too. I had to have to sit down and do it. I need to. Maybe I have to get another surgery, get my elbow surgery or something. I don't know.
No. And you're, and you have, I love the way that you said you just kind of slipped it in between the cracks of your time, and because that's a lot of us say, okay, I just need to go off to that mountain cabin for 2 months and I'll bang out my book. I'll take my standard typewriter that I've like been carrying around since, 1970 or whatever. And you just go, okay, no, we can't do that. Most of us can't do that. So that's why sometimes it does take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years to write a book, because you write it, then it kind of has to sit on the side. And then, and sometimes you just have to have a chunk of time. It's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to, over the Christmas break, and you set a goal for, okay, I just want to get like 2 chapters done over Christmas break. And if I can do that, that's great. So it's not all or nothing. So, yeah.
No, that's great. Yeah, no, it's, I think it's great advice to tell folks, and because it's, you don't have, like, I thought you're working a full-time job and you have things going on, and life and kids and, spouse and football game to watch or whatever. You got a lot of things going on. Yeah, you get to find those little spots, and that's why I really enjoyed it, because it kind of gave me some time to, all right, this is kind of my thing, and I can do this, and I'm gonna get it done one day, I promise. And it was cool, and so that's what I really, it was a great.
I love that.
So it's awesome.
I love that. Well, I'm sure you have inspired a lot of people today, just kind of going, okay, you know what? He's a busy guy. He's doing a lot of stuff, but he's taking his expertise and he's packaging it in a different format. And now that's getting out in the world and helping people. And like, how can you not feel, good about that? So that's great. I wanted to thank you for being here today, Tom, and we will see everybody back here next week. Okay.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Easy Peasy Books, from author to authority. If you found value in today's episode, I'd be grateful if you could leave us a review. It helps other aspiring authors discover our podcast. To learn more about writing, publishing, and leveraging your business book, visit my website at easypeasybooks.com.